So, I just watched episode 2 and 3 of A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. I'm glad I watched them together because, as charming as this show is, episode 2, not a lot happened. That is, I think, my main criticism so far of the show is that it feels very plot wise a little stagnant, where scenes kind of keep repeating over and over again, and they're nice and I'm enjoying them, but like it is very slow. He gets to the tourney last episode, and we've established that he needs to find someone that remembers his old boss enough to believe that he is actually a knight, whether or not that's true. And no one remembers this very minor hedge knight that no one's ever heard of. And it just kind of goes over and over of him trying to find someone, no one remembering them, and then having wacky hijinks in between, like a tug of war contest and drinking and watching tourneys. It has the ambiance of being in that Game of Thrones world, being immersed in that setting, but it's more about the feeling of it than the plot so far. The big thing that happened this episode was the Targaryens showed up in all of their ominous glory. It's fun seeing this generation of Targaryens. I'm excited for some of the other ones that I know will eventually crop up. Then there's Aerion Brightflame, who joins the tourney and is kind of terrifying and does underhanded things and kills a horse really gruesomely. That was a scene. It does a very good job of kind of building him up as a threat, like psychologically to the audience of like, oh, I don't really want you to face him. Oh, that's not just because he's underhanded, not just because he's brutal, but because he's a Targaryen, and if you do anything against him, the whole royal family might come down on you. You know, it's just he's a good threat in the show. But it was fun seeing them and how intimidating they are. But one of them has a really good memory and actually remembers Erland of Pennytree, who his boss is, and that gets him into the tourney, and which is great for him. And that is like the main thing that happened to progress the plot. He's actually going to be in the tourney. Okay, we've established that. The end of the second, or maybe in the third, he finally talks to the lady he's besotted with and hires her to paint his shield because he needs a new emblem since he's not the son of the knight he is supposedly the student of. And he's awkward with her in a way that's very sweet and wholesome. The other thing that happens is that the guy who's kind of in charge of running the tourney is trying to get him to kind of win by this other guy, taking a fall so that he can get money and whatnot. And that rubs Dunk the wrong way because he wants to do this honorably and wants to prove himself and does not want any, weird machinations behind the scenes to help him. So there's that brewing. But the core of the story is the relationship between Dunk and Egg. And in that, I think that is the strength of the show so far, because I like their rapport and their dynamic is meant to be the heart of it, and the progression of Dunk not wanting a squire and not wanting anything to do with him, to begrudgingly letting him take care of his horse, to begrudgingly liking him, to begrudgingly agreeing that he'd take him on as a squire after the tourney, officially. I love that progression, and Egg is very delightful because Egg knows a lot more than Dunk in certain fields of information, and so some of the back end politics and what's actually going on, Egg understands a little more, and you see those glimmers, which is very fun. But despite all the things that Egg is holding back, there's this beautiful sincerity to him and his performance where he so wants Dunk's approval and wakes up early and tries to practice him giving Dunk his lance during the tourney and the horse running, and it's just really charming watching him practice that, and it's just very sweet. That's the general tone for me, is like, this is the most wholesome flavor of Game of Thrones you're ever going to find. I mean, there is there a bunch of seedy dark stuff going around? Yes, because it's Westeros, but it has a unexpectedly heroic tone for someone coming in expecting Game of Thrones. I expected that heroic tone just because I knew the source material, and Dunk brings that out in George R.R. Martin. But it's nice to see. It's a different change of pace, and I like that a lot. Now, the ending shifted that. At the end, the scary Targaryen guy, Aerion Bright Flame, attacks the girl that Dunk is besotted with, and he attacks Aerion to defend her, and then they're like, oh my god, you attacked a prince, and they're going to execute him, and then Egg is like, no, you can't do that, and Egg reveals that he's a Targaryen, and then the credits roll. Very exciting. That was fun to watch with someone who hadn't known about the source material and didn't know Egg was Aegon, and a Targaryen, and it was fun seeing that reveal through someone else's eyes, because I was waiting the whole show of like, okay, when are they going to reveal that Egg is the missing Aegon? So I'm excited to see how they do that, because there's something very sad, regardless of how Egg saves him or like how this works. There's something sad for Egg doing this here, because Egg just got the assurance from Dunk that Dunk would take him as a squire, and just had hope that his life would be that. And now he's been forced to reveal who he really is to Dunk, and that, I'm sure, in his mind dashes any hope of that happening. And there's something innocently sad about that, and I like the placing of it there. It is after he's earned what he wanted that he potentially loses it. I like that. I like that a lot. I'm excited for the next episode. It's already come out because, as I'm sure you've noticed, I am way behind on this show, so I better hurry up and watch the 4th episode. But what did you think of episodes 2 and 3? Tell me in the comments below, and if you'd like to see my review of the 4th episode, please subscribe. Also, I have a book, Bonesong, Diary of a Sentient Sword. I release 2 chapters a week for free in the link below. Check it out. Happy reading. Take care.